How about that comeback and that series win over the defending champs?
That was awesome. That was awesome because it was about as deflating as you could possibly imagine a situation being, where they were in control of that game. And the bullpen, which has been lights out pretty much the entire season, rough start in the beginning, but I mean, they've been one of the best bullpens in all of baseball. So to see them melt down and give up, 6 total runs, I think, between Swanson, Castillo, and Sewald, you're just, it felt like your heart got ripped out of your chest. Like, really? You're going to blow this game? You're going to blow a chance to win the series? Looked like you had that game in hand. And then for Julio to come up and just hit a missile off the scoreboard. I mean, that thing left rapidly. And then Gino coming up, and both those guys carried it. They both had 2 home runs in that game, and it was amazing. And you've got to wonder, some people believe in momentum, some don't. I've got to wonder how much that carries over. How much does a game like that, where it felt like all was lost and it was going to be this just gut punch of a game, for them to pull that one out of the fire, to me is huge. To me, it's more than just the win, that it could have some positive carryover. And maybe more importantly, just that confidence that they already had, but that was just sort of solidifying, hey, we're never out of it. Doesn't matter. Yeah, we're down by a run, we're down by 2, whatever. We've always got a chance. And that was as improbable as it's has ever seemed. And for them to pull it out, I think is absolutely huge.
Bob, how wrong were you about Eugenio Suárez?
Defensively, I was wrong. Offensively, you keep hammering this. I never ripped him offensively. I said this is a guy who obviously can hit home runs. You look at him every year; he's hitting 30+ home runs. Said he's a high home run, low average, high strikeout guy. That's exactly what he's been. So offensively, I didn't. If we go back to the tape, I never said anything about his offense other than looking at his numbers, going, yeah, he strikes out a lot, which he leads the league in strikeouts. He's living up to that. He's got a low average. That's what he's doing this year. And he hits a lot of home runs. Defensively is where I was concerned, because you looked at his number. The numbers were there. I mean, I didn't make them up. You looked at him defensively as a guy we didn't watch in Cincinnati, going, all right, here's who's coming over. And you're looking at it going, oh boy, this doesn't look good. And then we had the Reds beat writer on to tell us about Winker, tell us about Suárez. And with Suárez, they're like, well, he's gotten a little bit bigger and his range isn't what it really was. I mean, he didn't sell it. I was like, oh, great. This guy's putting on weight. He's not as athletic as he used to be. He didn't really get into the whole, he played shortstop. He touched on it, but it wasn't really a big part of the conversation. It was more that he felt like he got bigger and his range was a little bit limited. So I was like, all right, well, here's a guy who can mash the balls, going to strike out a bunch, and may be a liability in the field. Defensively, he's been a very pleasant surprise. Very pleasant.
This isn't even a question. Just take it and run with it. Julio!
He's must watch. He's must watch. You know, the Mariners have had a few of those guys over the years where you felt like if you're at home and you got the TV on and maybe you're doing something in the background, I got to be in front of the TV when this guy's up. There's been a few of them. Griffey was certainly that guy. Edgar was a guy like that for me. Ichiro was a guy. A-Rod, even if you hate him, he was a guy where you just felt like, yeah, I can walk around, do stuff around the house, but when they're up, I got to be there. Julio is that guy. And you forget that he's 21, that this is his first season. He's playing more baseball now than he's ever played in a season, and he's coming up huge. And his level of confidence and his ability to come up big in the moment we just talked about, I mean, I continue to be blown away by how seasoned he seems to be and how much of a leader he seems to be becoming in that clubhouse, in the dugout. He was the guy who ran in that dugout, again, when all seemed lost against the Braves, telling everybody, hey, we got this, we're going to get this, whatever. I mean, he was the up guy. He's the guy like, we're going to get this back. That's a 21-year-old, you know, in his first season. I don't think you can underestimate his presence and how mature he is. He doesn't play like a rookie.
How do you feel about the lineup right now?
I feel good about it when everybody's healthy. I'm a little concerned because Ty France was in that game against the Braves. He wasn't playing because he's still dealing with a wrist issue. And you got to wonder, you know, how much is that bothering him? He came in for a pinch hit moment, popped the ball up, but you need him. is still not a long lineup. You don't have enough consistent producers to have a compromised Ty France and Mitch Haniger, who's not in the lineup today. He's got back tightness, back spasms. I'm not sure what's going on. Scott Service called it a little back thing, whatever that means. But you desperately need Mitch Haniger and Ty France, in addition to Julio, in addition to Gino, because as we've talked about, Winker's been really up and down, mostly down. J.P. Crawford is having a down year. It's just not been a great year for J.P. Crawford. Frazier has had some big moments, but he's also a guy that's pretty much like that. You don't have any consistent producers outside of those guys. And if two of them are physically compromised on some level, I don't know what a fair expectation is for them. And that just, to me, puts more pressure on Julio and Gino to sort of carry this load if Ty and Mitch are a little bit banged up physically.
What can you say about the way Logan Gilbert and George Kirby are pitching down the stretch?
Love them. God, I love those guys. I love them. And I mean, you know, it's cool as a Mariner fan to see prospects that we had heard about and all this potential really kind of live up to it. Because over the years, we've had a number of guys come through the system where you heard their names over and over, and then they didn't really live up to the billing, or they just flat out didn't make it. And to see these two guys who we heard a lot about, kept hearing their names and how they were going to be part of this rotation in the future and the great electric arms, actually live up to it, and maybe in some cases exceed it. I mean, George Kirby has been amazing. I am just absolutely blown away by his command. Absolutely blown away by his reluctance to walk in. He doesn't give in. He may give up the hit. We talked about it before, but he just does not give you a free pass. And if not for Julio, maybe we're just talking about another guy, another rookie going, hey, this is a guy maybe that should be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. I know he's not there at the plate. He doesn't have the glory of home runs and everything, but he's been spectacular. He's been spectacular. George Kirby has been amazing, to the point where you debate, you know, what they do with a three-man rotation in the first round of the playoffs. You go Castillo, certainly. You go Robbie Ray. That third spot, is it Gilbert? Is it Kirby? To me, there's an argument for Kirby. I get that he's a rookie. I get that he's thrown more innings than he has in his career, but it's not crazy to think, you know, maybe you go with Kirby. We'll see what Scott thinks, but the fact that he's in that conversation and it's not a silly idea speaks to how great he's been. And Logan Gilbert picked up where he left off in September last year, where he was amazing at the end of the season, best month of his season last year. And he's I don't know what else to say about him. They're both awesome. I love them both.